What's going on, gamers? Digital Foundry just put up a clip of Crimson Desert PS5 Pro gameplay showing how good this is and basically saying that it's using the same full ray tracing effects as the PC version and doing it on high. And the interesting thing here is to notice something important down here for the details. I'm going to zoom in for you guys so we could see this right here. This is a near final build with PSSR 1 upscaling. Final game will have the PSSR 2 footage. They had to re-clarify that. So everything everybody's been seeing has been the final build with PSSR 1. Wait till we see the PSSR 2. This is going to be very interesting. Everything's going to improve with that. But let's look how good this looks without PSSR 2. But understanding that the build that we're getting at launch is PSSR 2. We've got a lot of drama on Twitter. People hating because that's what they want to do. All versions are going to be amazing. The fact that this game is even playable the way that it is on Series S is also pretty interesting. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. Let's take a look at this. And then we're going to do a comparison with the PSSR 2 version, obviously, because you know that's going to be there. All right, let me get up the camera real quick. Zoom in. Let's go. Let's see how good this looks.
Crimson Desert is a rare and exciting moment for us at Digital Foundry. In a landscape where Unreal Engine has become the default, and where its strengths and weaknesses are now largely predictable, Pearl Abyss has arrived with something genuinely new to explore. Their Black Space engine delivers results that are nothing short of remarkable. Yeah, there's some jank to contend with, of course, and we'll get to that, but
this looks really
the overall
good.
impression it leaves is striking. From performance to crowd behavior, animation, freedom, foliage, lighting, everything, it is a stunning game. And on PS5 Pro here, you actually don't lose that much. For starters, the game's ray tracing.
Did you just see what he just said on PS5 Pro? Because he's talking about PC. You don't lose that much. It's still really good. Keywords there, guys. You don't lose that much.
Features are fully present and accounted for on the Pro.
Fully
the
present.
ray-traced diffuse global illumination we highlighted in our PC preview, the per pixel solution, yeah, it's enabled here. This gives the game a fully dynamic, ray-traced driven lighting system. Sunlight pouring into a room naturally bounces across surfaces, creating dramatic, believable scenes, and it's all done fully dynamically. The same is true of local lights, which produce equally impressive results. You have a lantern in your inventory, for instance, which you can pull out at any time, and the light from your lantern produces ultra-dramatic scenes, especially at night where light is scarce. Scenes like this are particularly impressive. This battle here has lights being generated by the enemies that you're fighting, and all of it is fully real-time, with shadows and lights dancing realistically across the terrain. It makes the battle feel so dynamic. The lighting has a distinctive quality that makes the world feel more convincing than most current-gen games.
So like just even looking at this image, we're going to be getting the idea of how PSSR 2 will make this look better. And this is impressive. And remember, ray tracing high with 60 frames per second. This is one of the most impressive games I've seen, like, period. Because look how massive this world is. And it's still rendering and playing that well and smooth. It's highly impressive. It says a lot about developers who know how to optimize a game and give you a good engine that can scale with anything, all the way down to Series S and maybe even Switch 2 in the future. You know what I mean?
The bright blue skies stand out immediately, and the environment around your character shows clear atmospheric light scattering. The real-time time of day system also pays off. Days and nights last longer than you usually see in games, and nighttime is genuinely dark, closer to something like, say, Dragon's Dogma, but with stronger, more consistent ray-traced lighting. Ray tracing is enabled across all three modes, by the way. Yes, there are 3 modes. So the overall lighting quality remains intact and consistent regardless of how you play. The only drawback here is that the denoiser occasionally struggles in more extreme cases. It's not as speckly as Resident Evil Requiem, but it's definitely still noticeable. In particular, I noticed streaking and noise in areas of high contrast. Even so, lighting is a major pillar of the game's visual identity and works beautifully overall. I'll be curious to see how the game looks without ray tracing though, because it seems like the Xbox Series S version does not have this feature. Beyond that, I noticed some really great visual touches that I wanted to highlight. For instance, particle shadows. Smoke plumes cast real dynamic shadows that you can observe as you move around. You can see that here if we look at this smokestack and then turn the camera around, you actually see the shadows from the emanating smoke. It's very cool. And attacks from above actually do the same.
Yeah, that's highly impressive. These guys are taking things to the next level. Man, this is really good stuff here. And remember, this is PS5 Pro, PSSR 1 footage, guys. Wait till we get the PSSR 2 footage at launch. This game is definitely going to sell millions of copies. I'm looking forward to it.
It's a subtle feature, not something I've often thought about, but it really adds a surprising amount of depth when it hits. Ray traced reflections are also something I noticed. With so much water and other reflective surfaces, it's impressive that every mode on PS5 Pro actually includes them. The system manages to blend ray traced reflections with SSR and assign distance fields for distant geometry. This is one area where I noticed a little bit of a difference in the performance mode though. The BVH tightens up around the camera, reducing the overall reflection radius.
Yeah, you can see that.
The results still look excellent, but it relies more heavily on the fallback solutions. But honestly, even still, it looks excellent, and the water itself is kind of a standout. Now, I discussed this with Alex in our initial PC preview, but the way the wave system works is super cool. Waves break and split around rocks, for instance. They wash up on shore and recede naturally. Wet surfaces pick up a specular sheen, and characters themselves even generate ripples that interact convincingly with the environment and other ripples. When you climb into the mountains, you'll see water sort of streaming down the mountainside, right? And the way they've handled all the directionality of the water itself is extremely impressive. But crucially, the water also looks great at scale. When standing on a mountain looking out across the ocean, for instance, it's still convincing and beautiful. I also love how they simulate the penetration of light through the surface of the water, like standing in deep water here with your lantern. But the water in general is just beautiful throughout this game and a real visual highlight. The way they're able to scale from nearby ripples to a full ocean is very impressive. And this idea of scale is kind of what surprised me the most. The developers have managed to deliver this combination of ridiculous near-field detail at a huge scale that you can appreciate at a distance.
Exactly, guys. Like, imagine a game like this with the technology it has, but you're getting that Breath of the Wild type scale. It's absolutely impressive being able to run this like this. And like you were saying, you think about games back in the older beginning of the gen, like Dragon's Dogma could not get 60 frames, you know what I mean? Period. They really made a really good engine here. It's not just a PS5 Pro and PCs, but it's also this engine. Because imagine putting this game in Unreal Engine 5. You think we're going to be getting these type of results? No. You wouldn't even have ray tracing low.
Just stop and look around, right? Every scene is packed with this fine-grained detail. There's an absurd amount of foliage variety, for instance, and all that foliage is affected by weather conditions blowing realistically in the wind. When a storm starts to wind up, the trees whip around violently around you.
This is impressive.
But beyond that, they also react directly to the player and NPC movement as well. Yet it's perhaps the distant rendering of the trees that impressed me the most.
Yes, incredible.
You see, this is an area where games typically struggle, yet here trees far off in the distance are actually properly lit and shadowed, while still giving the perception of detail. Shadowing distant trees has such a positive impact on the overall visual design, and it's something that most other games either skip completely or do in a very blobby, simple fashion. And this sort of insane detail can also be said of the surfaces and textures throughout the game. These guys went wild with displacement mapping. It's not a new technique, obviously, but it's everywhere. What do I mean? Well, essentially, just look at the ground here. This allows the developers to simulate depth within a texture, lending that surface increased perceived detail without leveraging more geometry. As a result, every stone, every brick, and just about any other surface in the game is just exploding with visual detail like this. There are virtually no flat surfaces in Crimson Desert. I've never seen this technique executed at scale quite like this, and I do think it adds a lot to the presentation. But there is one downside. It can produce some visual bugs at times. Something I noticed especially in that first town. Stuff like this, for instance, right? The larger issue can be seen when you look at areas where the texture sort of
Yeah, I see
protrudes
it.
from the geometry like this.
Well, here's my thing though. This is why I like Digital Foundry, because guys, stuff like this is stuff that we're seeing, and we're pretty much ending this here, but we see how incredible this is. Stuff that we're seeing before PSSR 2 is there and before we get our hands on the game. This is stuff they're noticing, so devs can see that, and you're going to have the day one patch on top of that. So this may not be there for us. But overall, just what they've managed to do with the scale of this game, I mean, it's absolutely amazing. This is basically embarrassing a lot of other open world games by a mile. Yeah, I mean, we haven't seen an open world this exciting since Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, Zelda Breath of the Wild, Red Dead, stuff like that, where it's like, yeah, I mean, most open world games do not produce this type of quality. This game just seems like it's getting better and better.
On edges, there's sometimes flicker and pixelation along these surfaces. You'll notice it on rock walls, trees, and various other edges, just like that. It's worth mentioning though that this bothered me more when I first started the game, but after you start to make progress, you just kind of forget about it. The overall majesty of the visuals kind of takes over. Either way, it's cool to see such a great technique return here.
Very good video as usual by Digital Foundry. This game feels like they just created a world and added a story to it just because they had to. Again, it's time to pre-order. I can't wait. This footage just went up not too long ago. Obviously, it's footage from another video, but they just gave the straight footage. But I think when it comes to showing off this game, it's definitely going to be about the Pro and the PC version. I know a lot of people want answers on the base console versions because that's where the majority of the players are at. Hey, I hear you. Just like a lot of people have Series S's, so it's like, oh, they're going to be playing that. But you'll still be able to get your experience regardless. So yeah, let me know what you guys think about this. Once again, the PS5 Pro is showing that it is definitely worth the money now, and that you're getting the value that you wanted. And this is before PSSR 2. I can't wait to see how this runs with PSSR 2, so that we could also shut up some haters around the world as well. And the ray reconstruction in the PC, though, looks incredible as well. I mean, overall, this is just going to be a fun game. Later, y'all. Peace out. Keep gaming no matter what platform you're on. Let me know what you think. Leave a comment down below.